Welcome back to Sunrise Daily. We're coming to you live from Uyo in Akwa Ibom State. Well, we're joined this morning by His Excellency Udom Emmanuel, Governor of Akwa Ibom State. Good morning and thank you for coming on this morning.
Good morning, Nigerians.
Well, it's 1 year ever since you assumed office, and reading through your acceptance speech, even your manifesto, you did talk about how you were going to leverage on what you had met on ground. You were going to industrialize the state's economy. How far have you gone in fulfilling that promise?
Yes, thank you, Chamberlain. Once again, let me use this opportunity to thank Nigerians and Akwa Ibom people in particular for all the support. Akwa Ibomites in Nigeria and those in diaspora. It's been an eventful 1 year, very challenging. A year that must go beyond the ordinary. A year that must show that you came into governance not by accident, that you have a blueprint and you have the ideas, because actually what will differentiate at this critical point in time is those that have the ideas and those that probably run a script that probably may have been handed over or copied somewhere else. I made a statement the other day that some of us came in to create change while others managed change created by some of us. So it's been very, very interesting. In the past 1 year, I also tried to redefine a few things. I had to let people know, everybody's complaining about finances. I had to let people know that at this point in time, I must be able to differentiate what people call cash and what people call money. That's actually what had made us achieve so much that we have on ground today, because we needed to redefine what is money and what is cash. So we needed money to work with, not cash. A lot of people are waiting and looking for cash. And as at yesterday, if you take stock of what we've done so far, commissioned and ongoing, over 200 kilometers of roads. And in the course of probably a discussion, I should be able to probably have you see between what I call the hard infrastructure and then the soft infrastructure that we've built in the past 1 year. Taking the hard infrastructure, I must still say this, we are developing an economy. So you must still talk about those hard infrastructure on ground. Because when I came in, if you look at my papers very well during my blueprint, I said 3 things will attract foreign investors into my state, irrespective of how blessed we are with natural resources. And those 3 things are: 1, security; 2, reliable infrastructure; 3, transparent legislation. And we went ahead with all these 3 things. And coming to reliable infrastructure, we now said 3 gateways must make a difference because of where we are located. We have the longest shoreline in the whole country, 129 kilometers. I said 3 gateways must differentiate us. 1, air; 2, road; 3, water. And we have the all 3. So we started our infrastructural, consolidation and expansion based on those 3 gateways. We actually immediately went into action. We had to set up technical committees in order to, break through the bureaucracies of ministries and, civil service structure, because you can't change that overnight. So what happened was, in order to drive the 5-point agenda of this government of job creation, wealth creation, poverty alleviation, economic and political inclusion, and infrastructure expansion and consolidation. So I needed 3 key technical committees to actually break that retipism in, civil service structure, because I couldn't change the structure overnight. So those 3 committees immediately, number 1, I set up a technical committee on deep sea port development, because we have a natural deep sea port area with about 17.3 meters drought without dredging. And I know international standard is about 13.4. So if you have natural, 17.3, is a natural, habitat you can never ignore. You can actually turn that to wealth for your people. So I set up a technical committee to actually look into that. Immediately after that, we set up another technical committee on agriculture and food sufficiency. Because I keep hearing, how much we are blessed as a country. And at times, we who live here, we never appreciate it. Except people come in and say, look, come on, you live in an area from January 1 to December 31 evergreen. The question is, can't we turn this to wealth for our people? So a little out of the box there. I set up a technical committee consisting of experts, both hands-on experience, researchers, and one or two who could actually look at sources of financing the agric expansion and development. Then the third technical committee was on foreign direct investment that will actually anchor and look at those three key areas I said that could actually attract this foreign direct investment. And the experience had been great on what we have on ground today. Going back to the hard infrastructure, I mentioned the roads. I now want to take on the airport. If you look at another gateway, which is Aden, the airport, I inherited, a massive development by the previous administration at the airport. But you could see, as of today, let me start with those that can make money. Take, for example, the MRO. The reason my MRO today is not put to use is because probably as a country we don't have a national carrier. So we coming in, we try to see how we could actually reach, I inherited that with about 60% completion. Trying to push it to at least 80, because under MRO you can't complete everything, because you need to look at the partner who will come and use the MRO. It has to be, service specific. So that's why we had to leave it at that point, and then we are now sourcing for people to partner with.
Just a minute. Are those committees independent of the civil service, or they just report directly to your office?
They report directly to the executive government. This executive system of government. The governor has the powers to actually set up, few people under advisory role, and actually also partner to see how things can move a little bit faster. Because if you compare, some of the processes that we have here, what normally could take you in a different world, say about 3 weeks, in Nigeria could take you more than 3 months. So you actually need people who are focused, who have the expertise to actually do this a little bit outside the civil service structure.
So how do we scale that hurdle when you talk about ease of doing business? Because you need to still go through the civil service.
Absolutely. Today, if you're also discussing infrastructure, there's another aspect that you need to look at, which is like structural. We'll scale that through. It's not something we can do overnight. Because you see, this is something that has been built over time. You can't just come and change it like that will cause a whole lot of disruption. So what you need to do is, first of all, you go back to the soft infrastructure. The mindset must be worked upon. That's number one. Number two, you must look at processes. And that will call for certain automation of those processes, elimination, of bottlenecks in some of the processes. And all this will flow after you've actually worked on the mindset of people to accept those process reviews. And that's not what you can achieve overnight. To bridge that gap, and mind you, you are running for speed and acceleration. There must be speed, there must be acceleration of policy, because you coming in, your day starts the day you're sworn in. You're in government already. So you are there to just try and see what you can do within this period. You don't have much time. People think 4 years is such a long period. Never. If somebody tells you we've done 1 year in office, it will seem as if we were sworn in yesterday. Because a whole lot to be done. It's a developing country. The population is growing at a fast speed. We have challenges like any other country at our stage. And you must leave those things, because those things will only breed excuses. Nobody wants excuse at this point in time.
We'll come back to look at all of those other critical issues, because it really, you said 4 years, now it's 3 years down.
Sure.
More for you to go on this stretch. But if you look at it, some key sectors in your state that you've put your finger on, one of such as that of agriculture. I wanted us to see how we can also put that side by side with what you're doing with the deep seaport. How has it been with agriculture? Coming into Akwa Ibom just before you touch down, you see a lot of palm, apart from the green areas, specifically what stands out are the palm fronds, the palm trees. So tell us what your government has done with that so far, knowing full well that we know that there are some other areas, for instance, the business of coconut oil, the business of shea butter oil, which a lot of people have come up to say these are very lucrative, that can give us much more money than the crude. Is Akwa Ibom doing anything, or are those just to beautify the city?
Thank you, Sullivan. I was actually trying to take it stage by stage. I was coming into that. But since you've taken me into that area now, let me mention a critical problem why probably we see a lot of palm trees, and those over the years, even before I was born, had not been translated into wealth for people. Number one is inappropriate pricing. Number two is lack of processing for most of those products and produces that we have around here. Then coming back to this government, I tried, let me still take you back again to the mindset of people, because you see that's what will drive the entire scenario that we are talking about right now. I tried to let my people know, while the crude oil price then, when we had our first summit on the youth employment scheme, while the price of crude oil then was about $30 per barrel, the price of palm oil in the international market was $90 a barrel. It takes a whole lot of technical expertise for me to actually bring out a barrel of crude oil, either from the deep waters. But it takes my grandmother nothing, apart from a little bit of physical strength, to actually bring out palm oil. So I asked my people, which one is easier, which one is better? $90 a barrel of palm oil or $30 a barrel of crude oil? So much noise about crude oil. So the mindset of people must change first. Then let me take another example. Take, for example, cocoa. When I was in the university, Akwa Ibom State used to be the 4th largest producer of cocoa in Nigeria. Today we were not, I mean, before I took over, we were not even in the first 10, top 10. I called the people, I said, today minimum 30,000 hectares of cocoa planted in Akwa Ibom. How come no yield? So without even planting one seedling, what we did was we brought consultants. Please come and do pruning, shedding, spraying, and then talk to the people. And we told the farmers, can you withdraw out of the farm for the first two weeks, 3 weeks, so that, you know, we can blow your mind. The consultants moved in. We trained 450 youths on that. We moved in, you know, this actually spanned through just few local government areas, the 30,000 hectares I'm talking about. By the time we move in, a farmer who left his farm 3 weeks, by the time he gets back, from the top to the bottom segment of the cocoa tree, flowers were sprouting like, you know, ants all over the place. They called it, you know, a particular kind of magic. It's not magic. It's because probably people were not, you know, being educated.
So do those farmers, how did they get the expertise to continue?
Sure, that is